Hi guys. I was having some technical difficulties, so I'm glad that it's finally deciding that it's going to work today. So, as you probably already know, we are virtual for this week of school. Not what we wanted, but it's what we're getting. So, what I wanted to do was I wanted to go ahead and do the lessons that I'd already planned on doing in class. It'll just be more you listening, and then we'll interact together with some of the work that we're doing. So again, we were talking about, and we started talking about text structures, and hopefully you can see the screen pretty well. And we started with compare and contrast. So again, this is not something that's new to you. You guys have heard this before in 4th grade. But we do want to make sure that we review the different text structures for nonfiction text. And so if you remember from last week, we talked about what is structure to even begin with. And so you want to think of structure as like a framework, or when you're building something, it's the framework to get to a certain point or to get to a finished product. So that's what the structure is that we're talking about. And so with text structure, authors who are writing nonfiction most of the time, authors who write nonfiction, they have a particular structure that they use to organize their thoughts, okay? And so it's a lot of nonfiction books, like textbooks and recipe books and things like that. They use text structure, and I'm gonna cough, sorry. So there's like 5 or 6 different text structures, and as the week goes on, I'm going to introduce you to all of them. So today we're going to do a couple of them today in this video that and I think you'll be watching this on Tuesday morning, unless you decided to do this early, because it will be available to you, I think, like in the weekend. I think I'm going to post it for you. So and again, my face is kind of in the way, but text structure refers to how a piece of text is built or how a piece of text is being organized. And so that's what we're talking about here. And we're going to talk about these places. So there is an example here. I'm going to put my face up here. Would that look better? I can look down. Okay. A skyscraper, for example, is a different kind of structure from a house. So we're talking about the skyscraper. And it stopped working. Builders can use different kinds of structures to build different things. And so again, that's what we're talking about when we're talking about these 5 or 6 different text structures that authors use to build their nonfiction. So it's kind of like a metaphor, kind of comparing building and construction to a text structure, okay? And like I said, we do use different structures to build their ideas. So some of the examples of text structure would be, the first one of them would be chronological order. And we haven't discussed this one in class, but again, this one is something that you probably have heard before. Authors use chronological order to explain how things happen in order. We also know that as sequence. So you hear chronological order, sequence, they're the same thing. They're the same thing, they mean the same thing. You would see a lot of this type of example with like timelines and things like that, okay? So again, sequence is another name for it. In this particular picture, if you're looking at this picture, you see this picture of a frog. And so the question's asking you, what might an author use? Why might an author use chronological order to... I have to call you back. I am on a thingy right now. Bye. Sorry. Anyway, so why might an author use chronological order to write about the frog? And so you think about it for a minute. Why might an author use chronological order to think about a frog? You know, if you're thinking about sequence and step-by-step order, time order, you know, you could think about the frog's life, you know, from tadpole all the way to an adult frog. Obviously, that would be a sequence. That would be chronological order, okay? We did talk about signal words when we were talking about compare and contrast. Same things apply here. Sequence has signal words. Some of the signal words that you will automatically see and automatically know that you've got some type of time order or some type of order into the passage would be like first, next, later, finally, then. Those are all time order words. Those are all words that kind of help you determine that you've got something that's coming before something else. Think of sequence or chronological order as like a timeline. You know, when we use a timeline, we're putting things in chronological order or in sequence. Okay, so here's an example of a passage that is using chronological order. It's a really simple little paragraph about macaroni and cheese. We probably all know how to make macaroni and cheese, and if you don't, it'll probably be one of the first things you ever learn how to do. So in the passage, it says, have you ever made macaroni and cheese? It's simple. First, boil some water, make some macaroni. Then make your cheese sauce. After the cheese sauce is ready, mix it with the macaroni. Bake the entire thing in the oven, and finally it's time to eat. Now, I'm sure there's a few more steps there, and you probably need to know the ingredients and the measuring of that, but you can automatically see that you have some signal words in this passage. Can you see them? Look at that passage one more time. Don't look at me. Look at the passage down below. Okay. Do you see the signal words that we were just talking about in the other slide? Next, then, finally. Do you see them? You see them? They're yellow now. So those are examples of signal words that signal you that you've got a chronological order passage right there in front of you. Things are happening in an order, in a particular order. You can't go out of order. If you go out of order, you're probably not going to make the best macaroni and cheese ever. It's probably going to look kind of funky, okay? So you want to kind of think about that. Sequence, chronological order, things have to kind of stay in order, okay? So here's two passages. I'm going to give you both. Okay, and what you could do right now is if you just hit the pause button right now from your video and take a minute and just look at these two passages first. So take a minute, pause the video, okay, and read through these passages before I give you answers. And so you have two passages, and what I'm asking you to do is find the one that represents chronological order. Okay, so if you've paused and did what I asked you to do, then you've unpaused at this point to see if you were correct. Which one, passage Pennsylvania or passage through A or B, which one would represent chronological order? Again, you want to look for those signal words to see if they are in a certain type of order and shouldn't be mixed up. So let's see if you guys were correct. So it says this is the passage in chronological order. This one right here on the one that is appearing. Can you find the clues that show these words? So obviously, if you pick this passage, then you definitely saw these signal words here. So you knew that this was a chronological passage. Good job. All right. So we're going to kind of get, this would be what we would do in class. You think about it. What's a structure? What does chronological order mean? If you can answer these questions, then you're good to go with this lesson. What are some clue words that show chronological order? We've talked about those. All right, sounds good to me. So this is your first lesson on text structures. And then tomorrow morning, my lights just went out. Tomorrow morning, I will give you another lesson on the next text structure. So school's out. See you guys later. Miss you.